Hey there, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pierre's Coach Talk. I wanted to start by saying that we are finally audio only. Have us hooked up on Apple Podcasts and the Spotify network under the name Pierre Coach Talk. So definitely go ahead and check that out. I'll have the links below in the description. Today's episode is going to be about organizations and the importance of structure, the importance of clarity, and the importance of just having a plan. Understand this: everyone needs good organization, good leadership to grow, to develop, to just have trust in where you're going and for your future. And as a teacher, when I start the school year, I don't walk into August and just wing it. My fellow teachers and I, we build a curriculum, we design it, we discuss it, we look at our standards, and we are responsible to address them. And then we find creative ways to implement those lessons throughout the school year for the benefit of the students. And at no point during the year do we just look around and go, well, I guess today we're going to focus on spelling, or today we're going to focus on reading comprehension. No, everything we do has a plan, a reason. And even when unexpected things happen, like a snow day or an assembly or schedule change or whatever, there's still a plan in place to address that. Here where I live, we have something called AMI days, or we just have scheduled or built-in snow days already set up. So the structure just allows us to adjust. It can catch us up, or we can stay focused and almost simplify certain things that we had almost anticipated of what was going to happen. And then as I'm thinking about this, I'm going, okay, football's not really any different, because the truth is, for the quarterback position, quarterbacks don't succeed or fail in a vacuum. They are successful or they struggle due to the organization setting them up for success or failure. Is the organization intentional in what they do? Are they consistently presenting different things to support their young player? And are they present? Meaning, are they there for that player to develop? Are they able to be a sounding board for that player to continually get better? And at the end of the day, like all things in life, it comes down to leadership. It comes down to the ability to communicate and the alignment from top to bottom about what are we going to do? Where are we planning on going? And what does the future entail for us? Because once you understand that, a lot of conversations in the NFL start to make a whole lot of sense. And this is where I get to my team, the Carolina Panthers. Sam Darnold is a Super Bowl quarterback. How do I know? The man is in the Super Bowl. And that should make the Panthers real uncomfortable. Not in a bad way, but just going, what could have been if we properly supported this young player? Sam Darnold is 28 years old, has been around the league quite a few different times, 5 different teams. And his failure in Carolina is clearly well documented. He had some highs, but there was quite a bit of lows. And fortunate for Sam Darnold, he was able to go to a place that was able to prime and success him and lead him to, and allow him to grow even more. But when he was in Carolina, he still had that talent. Sam Darnold didn't become more talented when he went to San Francisco, when he went to Minnesota, or in Seattle. He was the 3rd overall pick. I remember specifically when the Panthers traded to get him, I felt as though, okay, we are getting off a bridge quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, and now we're able to pick up a quarterback who has the talent, just needed a place to have some success and grow. But that wasn't the case here in Carolina. At the time, the Panthers just did not have the structure. When you're looking back at his career in New York, he was placed in a dysfunctional organization with coaching turnover. He started off with Todd Bowles, then went to Adam Gase. Both those men did not do a good job in New York, and even Adam Gase hasn't hasn't had a head coaching job since then. And even though Todd Bowles is a current head coach, there are still talks of him losing his job at the end of this year. The Bucs were able to keep him, and the sad thing is, I'm okay with that. I like to look at different organizations and go, especially in the division that we're in, this NFC South, are they doing the things that I want them to do? And no offense to Bucs fans, I'm okay that they kept Todd Bowles. The offense at that time was weak. The offensive line was weak and had no clear identity. And then he gets to Carolina. And again, the instability happens. In his first year, had some injuries, but was able to play decently okay. That second year, Baker Mayfield starts over him. He gets hurt. Then and people seem to forget this, he had a little bit of a streak, but then his coach gets fired. Okay. So then what are we going to do now? Steve Wilks takes over, and there's clearly no long-term answer for Steve Wilks because he was never given the head coach title, just the interim, which lets you know that, hey, after this season, it's a complete rebuild. If the Panthers are able to beat the Bucs that final game, then maybe Sam Darnold's still there. Maybe Steve Wilks is still the coach, but it is what it is. They're not, and they had to move on. So Sam Darnold, he travels to San Francisco. And when he's in San Francisco, he purposely finds a place where he can sit, relax, learn, and grow. Kyle Shanahan. And this is where having a good organization and good coach helps you so much. Kyle Shanahan basically propped him up and allowed him to grow and learn, allowed him to have that confidence again so that he could be successful. He gets a kind of gets a shot at Minnesota. They know, hey, we're going to let McCarthy sit for a year. And no. What happened was McCarthy, they know they're going to sit McCarthy, but McCarthy gets hurt. So it's Sam's job at the end of the day, no matter what happens. And Sam Darnold plays fantastic for about 12 to 13 games. He doesn't play well against the Lions, and he doesn't play well against the Rams, and they have to be the 5 seed. And at the end of the day, he wasn't able to win in Minnesota, but he showed the league that he can play. And now in Seattle, he's a Pro Bowler, led a team to a Super Bowl, and no matter what happens, nobody can ever take that away from him. And his team, the Seattle Seahawks, they're my pick to win the Super Bowl right now over the Patriots. Part of that is I'm not a huge Patriots fan. The other part is I think they're just a better team. If all things are equal, I would trust, and I can't believe I'm saying that, Sam Darnold, with his multiple years of experience in the league, his journey has allowed him to step up in this moment and seize the opportunity because he knows more than anybody else. These opportunities do not come, and you have to capitalize on it. Right now, Sam Darnold plays like the game has slowed down for him. Every read makes sense to him. It's amazing to watch. And the support system is real. He has a good running game, a great defense, a star receiver, and an offensive coach in Kubiak who's really productive. And now, because of that, he is in a place to where he's able to thrive. And it doesn't happen by accident. Like I said, it started with the organization. It started in belief, having a clear plan. What do we do with this guy at quarterback? And this is where, as a Panthers fan, I want the Panthers to almost signal exactly what they should do for Bryce Young. Bryce Young enters the conversation because Bryce Young is a smaller player, and he's not as physically gifted as Sam Darnold. But coming out of the draft, he was more advanced mentally. Think about it. Bryce Young was known as a guy who knew how to throw with anticipation. And during this season, you were able to see that. And the Panthers have picked up this fifth-year option. But there still has been some struggles. There's still some doubt in the building, clearly. And there's still the question of, is this the guy that we need to invest into long term? I've already said I do not think the Panthers need to pay him $50 million. but they do need to almost give him a $30 to $35 million contract, very similar to Sam Darnold, invest in him sooner than later so that if he ever clicks, and I truly believe Bryce Young's ability to throw the football is going to get to a point to where he may never be the guy that is the driving force for this team in and week out, but he's going to be a great conductor, almost as if a pass first point guard to where he's not going to score 20, but he can get you 12 and 10 and a few steals. He may be a Pro Bowler to where he can throw for 30, 32 touchdowns, depending on the season, depending on the situation. As long as the offensive line is set up correctly, those weapons continue to develop on the outside, they get a legit tight end, and that defense continues to be nasty. And I think if they're able to sign him sooner than later, that's going to help so much in terms of the cap space, in terms of everything that needs to happen for him to develop. And when the Panthers organization looks at Sam Darnold, they need to remind themselves sometimes it takes a little bit longer for the cookies to bake. Sometimes not in quarterback, the quarterback position cannot be linear. There's a no one here is saying that Sam Darnold now is a top 5 quarterback of all time, but he is a top quarterback in the NFL. He is playing his way into that class because of what's going on these last 2 seasons. And because of the stability of the organization, it allowed him to grow. And this, as a Panthers fan, is what I want the Panthers to view Bryce Young. There's been a lot of things that he has done very, very well. And I want those things to be built on, but then there has to be a level of patience when it comes to Bryce Young as well. Do not start taking steps back or all those bad habits will come apart. The organization has to trust the process. Dan Morgan has to find the right pieces around Bryce Young and continue to build the team. And I'm saying things that, obviously, but this is where you almost have to take the credit for an organization like the Browns, because, and I'm going to transition to the Browns in a second, because it shows that the evaluation of an NFL quarterback is not easy. It sounds easy, but it's not. The labels like bust or project or even the 5th rounder is sometimes more about what we think than what the actual player can do. And once the Carolina Panthers continue to build on what they've done this year, I know that Bryce Young can at least lead this team to what Sam Darnold has taken the Seattle Seahawks, which is a Super Bowl appearance. And when I brought up the Browns, they did probably one of the smartest moves they could for their quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders, all jokes aside, has made the Pro Bowl, and it has caught a lot of people off guard, including myself. And when you look at his stats, they're not impressive at all. 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. His resume, he's only played in 7 games, doesn't scream elite. But what this pick truly represents is, for whatever reason, the NFL views that this is a guy worth entering the Pro Bowl. Because I think what people seem to miss is the alternates isn't a fan selection. So if you are a Shedeur Sanders fan, your votes did not matter to him being an alternate. He wasn't voted in by the players, and he wasn't selected by the media. So none of this, he's well-liked around the league, or, the media loves him. That's not it at all. He was picked. And again, you could say, Trevor Lawrence probably declined. CJ Stroud probably declined. No one has come out and said they declined. So as of right now, we can only assume that Shedeur Sanders got in for his ability to play. The league looks at him and wants to continue for him to grow. So they're giving him the opportunity to do that in a Pro Bowl setting. Yes, the Pro Bowl now is flag football, but it's still an opportunity for that young man, that guy, to be around pros, some of the best players around the league, and learn and grow for them. And I give the Browns credit because their recent hire of Todd Monken, I think, actually works really well for them, because you have a veteran coach, a veteran offensive play caller, who, in his credit, has helped develop some players. When you look at him, it's not a flashy pick by any means. Cleveland has done a poor job of handling quarterbacks. They had Baker Mayfield. They let him go. They brought in Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun had all the off the field stuff aside, has not lived up to the billing of the 3 first-round picks in the fully guaranteed contract. There's been some power struggles between the GM and coach in terms of Barry and Stefanski, and that's why Stefanski's no longer there. And they're over-reliant on young players this year, showed their immaturity and their youth. Their youth clearly came out this year during the stretch, but they were able to do a lot of good things. And I look at Sanders and I go, okay, the Browns accidentally helped Sanders by not starting him week 1. There was Dylan Gabriel, Joe Flacco. Flacco started the first couple games, then was traded. Then Dylan Gabriel came in and he played until he got hurt. But Shedeur Sanders clearly is a better player than Dylan Gabriel. So that's not the argument now. So the question for the Cleveland Browns needs to be, how much do we invest in Shedeur Sanders? So they're giving him reps, as though it seems as though they're almost trusting him to go, hey, Todd, we're giving you the opportunity to develop Shedeur. And the press conference today between those two, it seems to be like, hey, it's a good time. There's a lot of there's decades of track record with Todd Monken. He has a track record of developing quarterbacks, in adapting to different offenses and different skill sets. I think when you look at it, he's helped with Lamar, but he's also helped with Herbert. He's also helped with Baker Mayfield. That's the other one. So, and he was previously with the Browns organization a few years ago. So he's had different quarterbacks in his offensive system, and he's done a good job of being successful. And when I look at the Browns, it seems as though they're just wanting some stability. And even with Monken's age, I think they're going to give him a longer leash, because to Stefanski's credit, Stefanski was there for a long time. It's not like Stefanski was only there for 2 years. He was there for 6 years. 6 years, was able to make the playoffs, was able to win Coach of the Year twice. The Browns aren't trigger happy. And before they picked up Monken, they were my number one job open over the Cardinals and over the Raiders. And I think they're just, what the Browns are doing right now is they're almost setting everything up for the foundation to where if Shedeur is successful, then their wins are going to come. And if he's not successful, then hey, we put ourselves in a good position to draft a quarterback in a good quarterback draft next year. I do not see them drafting a quarterback this year. I think they're going to ride it with Shedeur. They're going to ride it with Gabriel, and they could probably bring in 2 or 3 different guys, either through veteran free agency or a guy drafted in the later rounds, essentially just to see, hey, we're going to throw some stuff on the wall. We'll see what happens. And I think when hearing Andrew Berry talk, it seems as though Monken will have a voice in the quarterback and obviously developing, because at the end of the day, as the head coach with an offensive mind, that's what he does. What sucks for the Browns is they lost Jim Schwartz, so they're gonna have to bring in another guy. Myles Garrett is fantastic, future Hall of Famer, and I'm sure losing Jim Schwartz sucks, because that's the one thing I loved about Jim Schwartz is he knew how to develop a defensive line, and he brought the most out for Myles Garrett. I remember Jim Schwartz over in Detroit with the Ndamukong Suh and Clint Averill. Those boys were fantastic. And it was awesome to see him develop a D line. And before that, he was the DC for the Titans, and he was able to develop Albert Hainsworth to where Albert was able to get $100 million contract. Albert Hainsworth. People forget about that. That was his DC. So he does an excellent job with defense alignment. But overall, I think with Monken, they're not asking their young quarterback to save the franchise. They're looking at him as, hey, we would love for you to be successful because you're young, you're cheap, and you can grow. But if you can't, we are setting up the infrastructure for success. We are able to run. We're going to find ways to run the football effectively to help you. We're going to develop our wide receiving room. We're going to support our offensive line by not having you constantly being hit in under duress. The offense for the Cleveland Browns will be fundamentally sound, and it's going to be up to Shedeur Sanders to take them to the next height. But notice, not save them. That's the thing. Whatever Sanders does this year is going to be a direct influence of his ability to play, not the chaos around the Browns. And I think that's going to be the big difference. This season will not be an excuse for Shedeur Sanders. If he can play, it's going to be clear and obvious. If he cannot play, it's going to be clear and obvious. And the Pro Bowl for him, it like it or not, he is. So I hope he's able to make the most of it. I like Shedeur Sanders. I like him a lot. I'm not a Shedeur fanboy, but I am a guy who goes, man, I wish that dude's all the success in the world, because at the end of the day, being a young person in pro football is hard, especially playing quarterback, especially as a guy who thought he was going to go a much higher than where he was. And I hope continuously he is using that as motivation to prove people wrong and prove himself right. I love that quote that Shedeur Sanders said is, my job isn't to prove people wrong, it's to prove me right. And again, I give the Browns credit for that is, hey, we're going to hire a stabilizing force for our organization. We're not going to ask the young quarterback to save us. We're going to make sure the pieces around him are set, are good to go, to where if he is successful, we will win and continue to invest in him. And if he's not, at least we know it's not these other areas that we need to address. And then this almost brings us back to full circle, is because if quarterbacks need structure to succeed, then coaching has to matter more than anything. And with the Super Bowl, not this weekend, but the next, there's still some head coaching jobs that are open. Right now, the two biggest ones are the Cardinals and the Raiders. And right now, I'm going to rank them 1 and 2. And my number one open job for left is the Arizona Cardinals. When I look at the Cardinals, there is them getting rid of Jonathan Gannon. It almost seems they're not going to shift to an offensive guy. And there's been a couple names that have been popped out. But in terms of the upside, the Cardinals have a lot of young talent on offense. You have Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, who just broke the tight end reception record, and Michael Wilson, who is a solid complementary piece, a solid number 2. That is some foundation that you have. Arizona is a nice place to live. Super Bowls are played there. Guys enjoy the weather. it gets hot, but it's not that humid heat, it's that dry heat. And and as every dad will tell you, it's not the heat, that's not the temperature that gets you, it's the humidity. And when it's not that humid, you're able to survive. When and coming off a 3-14 season, they have the number 3 pick. They're going to be able to they're going to be able to get a guy who's going to be able to help their roster. And at the end of the day, no matter what happens, they're they are in a good spot with their cap to where they can make some moves this off season. The biggest problem is their division. Their division is tough. Three teams in their division made the playoffs. 2 teams played in the NFC Championship game. It's very, very, very difficult for all 4 teams in a division to make the playoffs. So, what are the Cardinals going to do? What's going to help them is they're going to have an easier schedule next year, and all 3 of those teams will have a tougher schedule. When you are a coach, you're having to go against the 2 best offensive minds in Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, and then possibly the best defensive mind in the NFL, Mike Macdonald. So as a coach, you're going to have to come in and immediately go, where can we be the best at? Well, it's going to be very hard for us to be the best on offense, and it's going to be very hard for us to be the best on defense. Kyle Murray's contract and his long-term future is in question. So even if you're able to pick up the best player in the number 3 spot, it more than likely won't be a quarterback. The quarterback's coming out this year. Mendoza is the clear number 1, but then after that, it could be Simpson, but he's projected to be a late first, early second. They're really Trinidad Chambliss, who made a lot of plays during the college football playoff. He's not a first rounder. There isn't anybody at that number 3 spot that it's a clear no-brainer at quarterback. So you're going to have to answer the question, what do we do with him long term? With all that constant losing, what exactly do you do for the culture? And I think where the Cardinals need to do is get a guy who can address the culture. Obviously, John Harbaugh would have been perfect in Arizona, but he's already in New York. So you need to get another culture guy. And whoever that is, I think that is where you address it, is you address culture and infrastructure of the team. The owner, the owner is the other issue, because I do not think he's willing to pay the money that is needed for the coaching staff. So whoever they get, the Bidwell family is just known for being cheap in terms of coaching staffs. And the problem with that is you're not getting the best guys for the amount you're paying them. And with it being so late in the coaching cycle, all the top assistants and position coaches that you could have gotten are now already picked up. And the other thing I think people always forget is, let's say you want a wide receivers coach to be your OC. A team can block you from interviewing that guy. A team can't block a guy from interviewing to be a head coach, but they can block you to be a position coach, a quality control coach, or an OC for another team. How many teams are willing to give up good position coaches or good quality control guys to other teams? It doesn't happen. So that's my fear for the Arizona Cardinals. And I think looking at it, when you put it together, Arizona is just unfortunately ranked the bottom in the coaching cycle. That's why they're still open. But I think, again, Their focus just needs to be on a guy who can address their culture, a guy who has a clear plan, but it understands that, hey, this is going to take a year or two for us to get culture in the organization right. And notice it all comes back to that. Are we in a place to where even if we draft a quarterback, are we developing him properly? Or are we just going to send his career down the drain because of our inability to be consistent and have a clear plan and bring in all the bad drama that happens to bad organizations? And unfortunately, I'm now move on to the Raiders, who I believe is the worst opening left in the NFL. I'll also be honest by saying it's I think it's just the worst job in the NFL right now. And here's why. You have the AFC West. You are in that division, right? In that division, you have the dynasty, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. You have the number one seed in the Broncos. You have the Chargers. So, okay, all right. So that's not bad, right? You also have, and and again, the Raiders. Mark Davis is not a rich guy, but there is money flowing in. But they have been losing for so long that, again, organizationally, you just need a full on reboot. They just got rid of Pete Carroll. They got rid of Josh McDaniels. They they've been getting rid of John Gruden. That's still on their payroll. Antonio Pierce is still on their payroll. Like they are guys who, as a coach, they are still paying for. That is ridiculous. It I it is the it is just the epitome of dysfunction. You have four coaches who you still are paying for, and now you're expected to bring in another coach who you will need to pay good money to come and take this job. I, I it's tough. Like, I feel bad for anybody who takes his job because you're having to address years upon years, over 2 decades of just dysfunction. The Raiders have made the playoffs during those 2 years. To their credit, they have, but that was a flash in the pan. The Raiders are who they are, very similar to the Jets. The roster needs work. They need a quarterback. They need an offensive line that can develop and block. Ashton Genty, a talented back, was getting hit behind the line of scrimmage so much. They have a solid weapon in Brock Bowers, but other than that, their receivers aren't that great. And then the defense is just a mess. It's a mess. And I feel so bad for Raiders fans because they are so passionate. I will say this: the job isn't all bad though. You do have the number one overall pick, and he is clear and obvious who's going to be in Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza is the number one overall pick. He is. So that's going to be fantastic. You do have an owner, and again, this is where Mark Davis does want to win. He is investing. He is pivoting if it's not working out. You have Tom Brady. Tom Brady is in the building. He is a minority owner. He is a guy who, as the greatest player in the NFL, has a good idea of what good football looks like and what it should be on a daily basis. So it's not all bad. No, this job is not all bad. And again, you have a new stadium, you have an area that guys want to come and play with, and you have a good amount of cap space open. So there's good things. There are a lot of good things about this job. This, this job, though, I view it as almost a low ceiling but high pressure, because if Davis is willing to get rid of you if results aren't happening as quickly as he would like, due to who now Al would obviously hire an offensive coach. I think for the Raiders, they need to have a younger offensive minded coach who may not be the best in schematics, but again is a good understand is good at understanding what success has. If you can bring in a guy from a successful program who's won and has seen a lot of good things and essentially give him a long leash, I think it can work in Las Vegas. The patience won't be guaranteed, but if I'm Las Vegas, that's who I go for. A guy who I tell him, hey, I'm going to give you about a good 5 years. I just want us to build some momentum, win some games. You're going to have a quarterback who you're going to have for a long time if it works out well. And I think watching Mendoza play, I think he will be fine in the NFL. He's tough. He throws a good ball. His mechanics are a little wonky at times. I don't love his fluid. His motion looks a little fluid, almost Jared Goffy, but his toughness is there. He has the ability to move and throw. He's seen a lot of defenses. What he did in the college football playoff speaks for itself. He's gone to different programs. There's some struggle. There's some toughness, mental toughness that's developed from him. So um, I I do like him a lot. So um, today's episode, I just wanted to put it out there because it's not about defending any specific guys or criticizing teams as a whole. It's just it people need to understand how the NFL works, how life works. The life message is organizationally, you have to be right. Organizations are so important to everybody in the building below, from top down. Starts with ownership, starts with general managers, start with then to coaches, then to players. If your organization is not good, everybody fails. Quarterbacks don't fail by themselves. Coaches do not succeed by themselves. The organization is the place that fosters everybody's success. Teams that understand that compete in January and enter the Super Bowl in February. The teams that don't are the teams that are constantly recycling coaches. When you are at your job, the best line I've ever heard is you chase good management, you don't chase money. There is a sea of money out there, a sea. There's a lot of money for everybody. There is. So don't be scared of the money. Don't be frightful that I got to take this job because it's good pay. No. Chase a thing that's more rare, which is good leadership. Good leadership. Good leadership. If you remember nothing else from me, I want you to remember that who your boss is so important. Who your boss is so important. So trust good bosses, trust good companies that do things the right way, that have your back, that do all those things that good organizations do. Good organizations, they take care of their people, they allow their people to be people themselves, and they find ways to support you even when you don't realize it. And in the NFL, if your owner is has a desire to win, and they continually find ways to support them with, hey, let's bring in let's fix the locker room. Hey, let's make sure our training staff is taken care of. Hey, let's make sure our coaches are able to get one or two extra assistants that they may not need, but in the long run, it helps them. That's what good organizations do. Thank you so much for listening. Understand this, on YouTube, we are at 215 subscribers, which is huge. That's huge. That means that people are subscribing every day. 1 to 2 people are subscribing a day. And that's all I can ever want. As a person who loves this game of football, I want to make sure that whatever I'm saying here is sound, fundamentally makes sense, and you can apply to your life. So thank you for listening. Till next time, catch up. Till next time. Sorry, let me phrase. Till next time. I'll catch up with you. Peace.